Hey guys, this is another episode of our Concubitus podcast, and today we're talking about submission and dominance. And it's like always, Maren speaking and
Taya. And today we have an extra guest on board to bring in some flavor to the table.
And also some
bit of spice.
a bit of spice.
Some straight male representation as well.
Yes.
Hi.
Please introduce yourself.
So I'm the token straight white guy. I'm so happy you guys have me.
Yeah.
My name is Albin, and I'm very happy to be here. Super exciting.
We're very excited to have some different perspective on here.
Yeah.
I feel like we don't get represented that much in media, so I feel like
I think our female listeners might be happy to get some male perspective in on this.
I mean, it's very valuable to have like a dialogue with everyone, right?
So
yeah,
also, I miss
that's
like an honest dialogue with a straight male that's not a former sexual partner where they're not really sure what to say because they're like, are you going to use this against me? And I'm like,
eventually.
I promise other people I might. So
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. It's
you're in
also,
safe hands here. I'm sorry. I've never mentioned names and never will.
No, it's a safe space. But Albin, do you quickly maybe want to tell us your history or connection to the topic?
We're talking about sub-dom, we're talking about submission dominance, and I've been sort of into this on and off for like 10 years now. I'm like a very avid fan, you could say. So I played around with this for a lot, and then last couple of years I've been getting more and more into it. So I'm just I'm in it. In it to win it.
As one does.
Also, maybe how we actually all got together is that Albin and me are roommates.
Oh yes, we didn't just find a straight male and go like, do you like dominance and submission?
I mean,
yeah, we could have
possible.
But would they have been as wise as you?
A lot and be.
Lord.
That's true.
They probably would have thought about something else before. We're like, oh no, it's for a podcast.
And they're like,
oh fuck.
Never mind that I don't know anything.
No, but Albin and me, we talked about this topic quite a lot. So we've
had some conversation about this. Yeah, that's true.
In the kitchen.
I really envy you guys for being able to do that, because when I start to talk about such diverse sexual adventures with people, they tend to lift an eyebrow and be like, excuse me, what do you like? Or I'm sorry, what is this even? And to know people who actually do it and know a lot about it and do it with a more often occurrence than just the occasional, he had a pair of handcuffs or whatever. It's nice to have someone to talk about who actually can understand the fascination and maybe even the background, the beauty behind it. Let's call it that. Instead of just being like, oh, you're a wild, spicy person, aren't you? We're like,
I think a lot of times I like start talking to people about this, and people are quite a little bit like taken aback or like a little bit.
I'm sorry, you do more than missionary,
right? But then you actually like start.
I don't know where to start there.
Peeling away the layers, and a lot of people are, actually quite into it, and like there's aspects of it that everyone kind of can relate to.
That is true.
I mentioned to my friend today that we were going to talk about kinks and then probably bondage or submission and dominance, and she was like, oh, and I was like, yeah, that's very. And then I mentioned something with a previous person who mentioned something that I cannot. Either way, she was like, oh, you do that, and I was like, well, sometimes you got to start small, and then. Sometimes you add another layer and then that's fun. And she was like, I've never done that, but I think it sounds fun. And I was like, see?
That's all that it's about. Just
and
about having fun.
I think it's also like, as always, important to emphasize that those are also obviously our personal experiences, right?
Yeah.
So everyone is positioned through their life circumstances and everything. So I think it's also important to emphasize this again, like what we're talking about now, as in all the other episodes, obviously is also because of who we are and where we live and our privileges.
And this is such a diverse topic as well, and everyone has really different experiences and different, perspectives on this. So I think it is very much what you make of it. And what we might talk about is like what we've made of it.
And also if you can even make something out of it, right? Maybe if you're in a different place in the world or in a different family situations or partner situations, whatever, and you might have those desires or there's something inside of you, right? And you would want to live this. You maybe just can't because it would be dangerous for your safety or against your family values or whatsoever.
Yeah,
right? It's so
Jesus.
I think those things are always so embedded in every. Okay, am I nerding out?
No, it's fine. It's just, you just said Jesus, and I was like, yeah, he's a reason too why you can't.
He's another one.
Yeah, Jesus, good on.
That guy.
That's really true. That's really well put.
So I think that's also important to just be aware of and
for sure. I think we should also offer just like the most careful and cautious little trigger warning for anyone listening to this. If we do end up talking about like impact play, like spanking or choking or lifting and carrying people around, like very physical stuff, or if we start talking about more mental stuff like derogatory language or humiliation and things like that might be mentally stressful. People, if anyone finds that at all triggering, maybe go back and listen to another one of your beautiful episodes.
One that's not as triggering.
Maybe, yeah. But also, again, like we're not here to trigger anyone or push any buttons, but I think that's just important to have out there.
Just having an honest conversation that is very valuable. So Alba, maybe do you want to
briefly
dive right in?
Right.
Tell us a little bit what Subdom has to offer the world. Don't do a dive like that. Stop.
Let's put on our like diving helmets and our scuba suits.
Scuba suit up, guys, because it's getting weird.
It's getting well.
Weird or wet?
Hopefully, yes.
Hopefully both. Why not both? I think. For sure. I think you can always start by just saying kind of what's what and who's who. I think subdom or submission and dominance, or we might call it SD today, which is also a pretty common name. Is basically a dynamic. It's a structure of power that you might subscribe to in a sexual sense or in a relationship and kind of romantic sense. There are people who do this, in one night stands, as you guys talked about last week, or just in a full-on 24/7 relationship. And the spectrum here is huge. So there are some basic assumptions and ideas and kind of truths, I guess, that you like
some hardcore facts.
But they kind of agree to if you go by these, and that's like for example, that like you have a power dynamic in your relationship, and that your interactions in your relationships and sex as well, as much as talking and anything else, is affected by these like power dynamics. And also that like you might have a preferred power position in this dynamic. Whether you're submissive, whether you're dominant, you have a place where you feel like, this is me, this is home. And interacting with this other person in this other role feels just like that's good. And that this is, I think another like good basic assumption that you kind of not talk about is that this is good and this is fine and this is nice and this can be lovely.
And it very well put. First of all.
Okay.
No, but it just reminded me of what we've been talking earlier on about. In order for dominance to work, submission has to be there as well. So I think this is a really really to what you just said now, an interesting point to think about, because then often it's like this at least I feel like it's often the focus on dominance or dominating or being dominated or whatsoever, but submission, like just the term, I think a lot of people already don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Or maybe it has a negative connotation to some...
Exactly.
Like, for me, at least, to start with, let's put it like that, when I heard the word submission and I didn't know in what sense it worked, I was like, oh, it's you got to feel like a small person, or you just got to
like
be passive and just take whatever comes your way, where submission can be so many more things than that. Like, you can be your strong self, feministic, with power, but still listen and be submissive without thinking you're a lesser person.
And I mean, submission can look so different for so many different people. It can be, there are again, a huge spectrum of different kinds of submission that people are into, and whatever again works for you is the kind of thing that works for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And there are brats who are much more combative and against it, and then there's people who are into 100% full submission. But at any point in any situation, it is an active participatory thing that you do. It is, I don't think it is ever and should never be just being passive.
And what's even more important that we need to bring again in this episode is communication.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Because if there's something that's so important for this also to work is to have an actual conversation about what are your expectations.
Yeah.
What do you want, or what don't you want? And just to have a good all info about what do you expect to happen, and
for sure,
talk it through.
Yeah.
And also, if you have preconceived thoughts about what you think dominance is or submission is, that you get them cleared. So you're if you go into it and you're gonna try it for the first time and you're thinking it's this kind of weird thing you don't know about, and he's gonna slap me right away because that what seems like, or he's gonna choke me to death, have a talk about it, be like, oh, okay, maybe that's not okay. I actually don't like being choked, but when you said that thing about the other thing, I was like, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, but then you can also I think that negotiation is incredibly important.
Yeah.
And there's two kind of schools. There's some people who feel like you should go into it and it should just be kind of free flowing, jazz, you just go shoot from the hip, and it's very but it's this Hollywood version of SD. It's just happening, and you're just vibing. It's just great, right?
The overall Hollywood depiction of any sexual,
just sex in general in Hollywood's eyes.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
50 Shades of Grey.
Oh.
Yeah. We'll get into that for sure. But then there's also and this is kind of what I think is the quote unquote right way to do it. But there's this school of thought that you have these very quite elaborate negotiations and being and before you even do anything kind of sexual, you go and you maybe meet in a public place, you have coffee, very kind of it's not very sexy. And it's quite business-like.
It is kind of a job interview, being okay, so what do you like? And you're sitting there,
the
we're taking this very serious, and I have to talk about my lust. And you're looking at me like I'm just a list to be checked off, but okay, I could do that to you.
But I think that's even sexier than the assumption or expectation of it just flowing. If someone tells me, okay, this is what I like, and I want to talk about this, so we have a consensual experience that we can enjoy together. I think it's so hot.
Yeah.
If you can sit down, in a normal, neutral, sober environment and just talk about this.
Yeah.
Because then the other person is on their shit,
Yeah.
And they got an understanding of themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what they want. Yeah.
I've done the shoot from the hip thing, or tried to do it, and I really it was really bad. It went really poorly.
I was
really,
actually curious about that for you.
Yeah.
So let's get down and dirty in the scuba. No, but like if you meet a new sexual partner and let's say you don't introduce your interest right away and you have normal vanilla sex, and then you're like, okay, I could see this going to another point. Do you just sit down and be like, okay, so what are your kinks? Like dominance, would that be something you're into? Like,
for sure.
It's just a normal, and then how often do you receive positive feedback or not that it's negative, that sounds wrong. You're allowed to like what you like. But like how often how often do they tend to be like, I want to try this versus nah, that's not much. I think in what grade of dominance is like, okay, we can start here, but are you willing to take it to the next layer?
What I think is important is also to say that like I see some like SD subdom dynamics as more like an umbrella kink. And it's more of something that kind of permeates through a lot of other stuff. So if you're into spanking, for example, you might be into that because you like the power dynamic of being punished, right? Or you might be like a masochist and you like pain. Also cool, but like a whole different ball game, right? And if you like being like degraded or like called names, you know, you might that's also like a different kind of power dynamic, but still the same thing, right? So I think talking about kinks is obviously incredibly important. But and just as you say, I think if you're having sex quite regularly with someone and you start talking about like fantasies, kinks, kind of what you're into, what you're not into, I think it quite often like comes up that like, well, I'm into like, I kind of like it when you choke me a bit, or like I kind of like this and this. And then what I think is really important is to then understand where that comes from. Like, does this person who likes to be choked, for example, like, do they like the physicality of it, like the force, and like force. the like very like grabby, the heart, like that, or do they like? Is there like an airflow thing?
Exactly.
Which is also like
blood air or whatever.
Around. That's super, like don't. That's or like be
do
very
not
very
break
safe.
my esophagus. Break my bed, please.
Also, like it should really be said with all these things, like playing with ropes, playing with air. It is incredibly important to be like safe. Sane and also consensual, which cannot be said enough. So I think more than saying like going into a new relationship and going, you know, I want to dom you. You go like, okay, well, what are you into? What are some things that you like? And you might also realize, like, from just having sex, because that's how sex works. If you're open and communicative about it, that you're like, oh, I noticed that you're kind of, when I do this, I noticed that you're kind of into that. And then you can also kind of like, you can kind of take that to different levels. Like,
But I would be interested in knowing...
reading the body language.
And also kind of like, again, consensually, but also like you can push your partner a little bit. Like you can introduce things and be like, hey, could this be like something that you like?
No, I would just be interested in knowing like the reaction of your sexual partners when you initiated those conversations, with regards to also like what do people understand as being dominated. So if you come in being like, I want to be the dom, because I feel like often then people think it's being choked and being spanked, like generalizing right now, of course, but I would be very interested in knowing what your experience was with your sexual partners with regards to that, and how they also opened up to it maybe. And
I think just because I didn't do that very well in the last question, but just to answer your question, I think generally if you're talking about something openly and communicatively and nicely, and coming from a place of like, hey, this is what I'm into, what are you into? Can we make that happen, right? I think people are usually really happy and like and fine with it. of course, depending on who you date, you know.
Yeah.
But I have great taste, so I've had good.
I'm kind of amazing.
No, I mean I'm just a Capricorn, so I'm really picky.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
As you should be.
As I should be, right? But to elaborate on that, then, I think it's again rare for me to go. I want to like dominate you, because it's also, I think at a certain point,
like just the wording of that is very dominating. Just to say it like that,
I have, you know, you can say that, but in a
I feel like you need to,
yeah,
exactly. You
exists.
need the person who is going to be dominated needs to accept the tone of the way you're saying it,
and that's
instead
part
of
of
just
the
being
negotiation
like,
as well.
excuse me, what? No.
Wait.
I want to dominate you. Well, you're not going to. Like, if it's received well, it's received very well.
Yeah.
And otherwise, it's just a fine line.
Even though I can also see how that is also very sexy in a way.
Yeah.
That someone is like, oh, I want to dominate you. And then you're like, all right, bring it on.
I think also like at a certain point, at a certain like, so and I think we talked about this, but like I think there is like not a huge difference, but there is a difference in between dominating someone, the act of dominating someone, and being a dom, or like being a dominant person.
Yeah.
Because for me, I rarely ask. I really like that question doesn't come up. Like, can I be dominant? I am.
Yeah.
And this is my identity.
Yeah.
It's more like, if I do this, how do you feel about that? And also, like, I've had sexual partners who don't vibe with that, and I have, you know, been my sexual true self in however that might look, in that situation, and they go, oh no, thank you, thank you, but no, thank you, like I'm fine. So in that sense, the conversation I might have instead is, you know, what are you into, and how does that work for me, or like what can I do to make that happen or something.
Which I find that so liberating in some way, because I feel like there's a lot of men out there. No, this is very generalizing, I'm sorry, right. But I feel like there's a lot of men who think, again, we were talking about this, where men think they need to dominate the women, and they're like, they think they're dominating, but they're not a dom, or vice versa. Yeah. And I think with the experience that I have in that field, my field experience, is that my field research in men, is that I've only come across like 2 men that were actually dominating in the way that I thought dominating should be. Okay. Where the rest was just like, girl, I'm going to do this, and I don't even know, because it's not even
we touched about this before as well, and like dominating someone physically is like, it's relatively easy. If you are a big boy, like
it's like, you can hold me down. You have like, 20 kilos on me.
I cannot breathe then.
Yeah, it's like, you could kill me if you wanted to.
You made it. Like, that's okay. Mission accomplished, right?
Yeah.
But is that the point? Like, is that what we're going for?
Very good argument. Yeah.
And I don't think that's it.
That's really not the point.
And again, you know, that's abuse in some ways.
I 100% agree with this, because dominating is not being physically stronger than someone,
right?
Or being physically able to do. I mean, again, be part of it, obviously, but it's so much more. And I think it's so interesting if you have those conversations, and then it's like, I could dominate you, like, mentally, or, you know, in so many different ways. And then people are like, okay, this is a bit of a joke, you know? And it's like, domination is not choking someone.
No.
Because you're physically maybe able to do it, you know? Sure. That's not the whole point.
Period.
I think I have 2 points to make about this, and I think you're like, I 100% agree. I think, first of all, in any quote unquote, I'm being very careful, in any like good, in any good SD relationship, you have the dominant being being the face of the power, being like the wielder of the power. But truly, the power is from the sub. Because that's the person that has the power of consent.
Yeah.
That is the person that has the power of withdrawal.
Yeah.
And saying,
can stop the show.
That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But obviously it should be an equal distribution of power, but it is not total power conversion necessarily. There are people who are into that, but that's a whole different ballgame, right? So submission is a very powerful position.
Definitely.
And people need to understand that power. Because they also, like, for themselves and for the scene. Second of all, I, for the longest time, did not do, like, physical restraints.
Yeah.
Because, like, ropes, cuffs, tape. I've only recently gotten more and more into that. Because I think that truly dominating someone only comes from dominating, like, mentally, in a way. And then if you put those two together, that's just like chef's kiss, just beautiful.
Yeah.
But I think you really need to start from the, like, the emotional sides. Really emotionally abusive.
Yeah.
Obviously not joking, but
Yeah, I mean,
but kind of.
Oh, that's a strong word,
like,
but I'll see where you're going with it.
Yeah, I think also what definitely has an influence on this whole topic are, again, also like gender roles and societal expectations.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about this the other day, that you then sometimes have the struggle a bit of being the male person then in the sexual interaction, with regards to then being like, I don't want to come off as just another dude that wants to dominate, because this is not the point.
Yeah, and also, like, you don't want to come off as, like, I think so I think, like, SD relationships are usually the most, like, communicative, most beautifully open and like vulnerable relationships.
Yeah.
But it's quite difficult, and it's not something that you can go up to someone in a nightclub and be like, hey, let's get it on. You have to be quite careful. So it takes quite some time.
Depends on the nightclub.
Depends on the nightclub, exactly.
We're not in Berlin, Maren.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this Kit Kat, like, guys.
I really want to go there just to have a great outfit on.
Yeah.
We said that. Yeah.
I'm working on my Kit Kat outfit now.
I mean,
I think it's coming on.
You got some good latex hot pants.
No,
but
I ordered the hottest piece.
Yeah.
The hottest piece.
Like,
I'll show
the
you
chef's
afterwards.
kiss.
Yeah, Jesus.
Perfect.
Yeah, so we can have a trip next time.
I find not talk about Kit Kat, because that's also fun, but the whole gender role thing, I find it so fun and exciting to, because I both like to be dominated, but I also like to dominate in a sense, not in the typical sense of let's say physical domination, but
you're a switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
So I like to, if I have the right partner, to be dominated. I like to be the submissive one, to be like, okay, you can literally, if I feel like less of a woman someday and I want to feel like fragile and a little petite lady. No, but like, we've talked about this in earlier episodes that we're not the smallest little pixies out there. Mm-hmm. And sometimes in the environment that we're in, I do not feel very feminine.
Right.
So sometimes you need to take it to the other side of that. So it helps to be with a very strong man who can carry you around or tie you down, and you're just like, okay.
I mean, counterpoint to that, I think that there's a beautiful femininity in dominance.
See, that's the other side of it that I also...
Not for me, but for other people. Yeah.
But then taking it the other way around, that I don't always enjoy being submissive, because I like the power that comes with knowing what my partner likes and then being like, oh, so now I sit with the power to choose whether or not this is something you get. Well, not in that sense, but I can't even explain it. Like,
I mean, I think switches are great. I think it's a beautiful position to be in.
That you can... It's so fragile.
You can kind of choose.
You can kind of choose. And even if you're submissive and you're in that, it's like you have a secret like you mentioned, the secret power, like I know what I do to my partner
and what I
by
get
being
of,
submissive.
And what I get out of this for myself.
And that is so powerful that it's like, what the hell is going on? I'm not being dominating, but I am, because it's secret and I know all the trick. No,
this is a big part of it is seeing these structures.
Yeah.
Because like as a dom, I feel hugely powerless in a lot of times, but then I feel hugely powerful in other times, and
I mean,
I'm sure it's the same
powerless like towards controlling someone's pleasure or not pleasure. I mean, it's not your body, but you can do things, but you can't control the reactions.
Yeah.
So in that way, you have no power. Well, but you also but I guess, and then you have the power because you can read the person, and like it's a fine line.
It's just very interesting how often it can, like I would definitely say I'm also more on the switch side of things. But for me, it's also very interesting than dating a man or dating a woman, because I feel like in a same-sex constellation, I always, it sounds super shit, but I always feel a bit male in a sense of...
Right.
I would not, without like no harm, but I would see you as the more male dominant same sex.
I definitely am from my experience.
But
I think
it
would
be
tying
back to what you said about gender before. I think and I think subdom is incredibly like gender coded.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And you know the biggest power structure that we live in is the patriarchy, of course. You know.
And patriarchy. Sorry, competition.
Well, I mean,
but yeah.
And I think you know all kink comes from some kind of taboo and playing in things that you're supposed to or not supposed to, and this is a conversation I've had in my
Somebody
mind.
in a cave was freaky once. This is where it comes from, I'm sure. No.
Right. but like in this giant societal power structure that we have, I think playing in between those power structures, in between men and women, is the basis of this. So I think, you know, obviously in, you know, semantics and linguistics and society and in everything, like the way we talk and act around dominance is very male coded, and submission is very female coded. And some people love to lean into this, like men who love to lean into dominance. I've always considered myself a feminist, and I've struggled with this a little bit, because I feel like, how can I dominate a woman? How can I be dominating against a woman? How can she be submissive against me without that being like fucked up? But I think then you take that and you put it in a scene, or you put it in play, where you can explore that, and you can have a space that is safe between two consenting adults.
And 100%. And I think it's really also like, it's also up to you to go beyond those standard norms and be like, because we live so much in heteronormativity and we're so used to man, woman. You know, this is how you have to be and what you have to be like. But then being like, okay, if I say I then feel more male, okay, well, that is, I think it's more like an interesting observation to make, and to then also play with it and be like, I could dress like a man and go out on the street and be male one day and the next time female again and the next time male. You know, it's like, I think it's really also the step we have to take just to question those things more and get beyond those rigid roles and expectations and be like, maybe there is not even such a thing. And if people still want to play into it, that's also fine. But it's like, it also starts with yourself, and then how do I feel comfortable? But it shouldn't be a thing of, I cannot be powerful because only men can be powerful, or only dogs can be powerful. You know, like, also has, which has a lot to do with language and commercial media and culture and politics and society. And religion and a lot of things, but
just the list is very long. I think so. I think here, maybe we disagree here, but I think that, because you're talking about like gender, right? I think it is a thing, but I think we made it.
Yeah.
I think it's I think we have all the power over it. we can say whatever, like we can say that it is whatever we want to say that it is. So let's rewrite the narrative, because we penned it in the first place. I think there's a lot of very
gender performativity.
Yeah.
Judith Butler. I've been reading the theory today for 5 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jesus,
but that's exactly,
I shouldn't be talking here.
That's exactly her point.
Yeah, okay.
Like, she's been one of the major theorists in that field
constructivists.
Making that distinction between your biological sex
right.
and then gender, which is like kind of an act you perform through and it's already assigned to you before you even come to the world, because it's like oh, it's a boy, it's a girl, so it's already. Then if it's a boy, the boy must be good in football, and he must be wearing blue, and he must be attracted to the opposite sex.
Sure.
So before you even are your true self, you already aren't. Because you are.
But wired.
That's
a whole another.
There's a whole very interesting discussion.
But
where were we? I think with subdom, I think then people play in the opposite space as well. So there's a huge amount of male subs, or male submissives, or men who are submissive, and a lot of women who are more dominant. And they might play in the opposite space. They might go, this is my gender role in my everyday life, but I want to do something different. I want to do the opposite.
Yeah.
Also, I think that there is a huge amount of femininity in dominance, for example. There's a lot of people very into a very caregiving side of dominance. Very much like making sure that your sub got 8 hours sleep. Or
how can you make sure of that?
Well,
did you just open your eyes? You're not supposed to open your eyes until 2 hours. Go back to sleep, sweetie.
The person
kind of.
Oh, okay, I'll just close my eyes. You were staring.
But probably
this is like the negotiation you have to have, and like a lot of
dynamic, right?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of SD relationships that are like established relationships have like a bit of a rule book.
Yeah.
So like.
You can stare at me while I sleep. That's okay.
Sure.
Rule number 1.
Well, it might be like it might be some aspects of punishment.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
I guess that's
punishment or punishment, if you want to.
Yeah. No, that's fun. I see what you did there.
No, but there are kind of two different things.
Okay.
But so I mean, all I'm trying to say is that there is a very feminine. Like, I don't want to say that caregiving is feminine, but like, if we say that this like very classical societal idea of like exactly, there is that in submission for sure, and there's very male traits, I think, in submission. So while I think it is very I think obviously it's very gender coded as it is, I think there is differences and things for people, everyone kind of to lean into.
I just hope that if people are going to dabble in it, that they get to try both. Like, that they're not pinned to one. Let's say you find a sexual partner and that person gets you into being a submissive.
Sure.
You're like, this is great. I would like to try maybe being the dom, and they're like, that's not my thing. Okay, well, do you then... I hope they can make some kind of deal that you go out and then you find your way and see, so you can find out which side, if you're a switch or you're either that they get to try every aspect of it and see what's good and what's not for them, that they don't just think that this is the way. And this is the only
Jesus,
aspect
I think,
of it. That's mostly my only concern when if I speak to friends or whatever about, for example, being submissive with bondage, and they're like, ooh, that sounds extreme, you do it, and I'm like, what is your idea of what do you, when I say bondage, what do you think it is? And they're like mentioning all these things, and I'm like, I haven't done 70% of what you just said, because
but also if you did, that would be fine.
Exactly, but and then I'm like, you mentioned some things there that I might go home and note down that I didn't even think was a thing, but you did. Yeah, it's like, that
Thanks
sounds great. Thank you. Like,
sure.
and then I'm like, there's so many steps because nobody's just jumping head first into the whole thing.
Yeah.
You take a little piece every time, and then if that tickles your funny bone, take another piece.
But I think, I mean, if we're gonna be at all prescriptive, like if we're actually gonna tell people kind of how and what to do, which heavy breathing, but it was just blowing. Actually, I didn't inhale. Our lawyers here in the background are just shaking their heads.
No, they're great.
but okay, so following the like my opinion narrative, like I think just follow the fun. Like that's always a good. Find what you vibe with and what you think is good for you.
Yeah.
And be like, more of that, please. Another plate of that. Thank you.
I would like more. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Waiter.
And then you can take it from there. And then if you have also like this is crazy. We haven't talked about trust, which is
true. Major thing.
Insanely important. You know. But if you do trust someone, like when you are in that situation of actually trusting someone and being like vibing, touching hearts, kind of, you can then push your partner a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you can initiate things that in a way that is, you know, respectful and slow enough, but also like flexible. And then people might, you know, find that they really like it.
Yeah.
And I think it's also like it just has so much to do with taboos and stigmatization.
Yeah.
I mean, sex overall.
And ignorance
also. And not wanting to, which is also fine. Communicate and do what you want, but it's, sex is often approached from a negative stance in a sense of talking about sex earlier on, right? Oh my God, you can get all those diseases. And this is all the horrible things that can happen. And this is only what sex is, right? But like having like a sex positive approach can open up so many doors, windows, and those things. So I think it's also very interesting how we communicate or like talk about those things in our circles and societies, and then actually dealing with it and actually getting to know those things. And you're like, this is not what the media and culture and politicians told me, you know?
But just opening up and seeing the entire color wheel of sex, the whole like rainbow spectrum of all the things that you can be into and all the things that you like and all the things that are fun. And just mixing and matching and painting a beautiful painting with all the things that you're into.
And also that things are not set in stone. Like
that's
one thing I experienced. I thought I liked sex one way, and then I was introduced to it another way, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, this is allowed
all along. I could have had
and then
this shit.
It opened my mind to being like, okay, this is something I didn't see myself doing, but look at me now. Please don't look at me though. And then I was like, I can't really be like close-minded to other things unless I'm like super like, oh, that's not gonna happen. But until I try it at some point, you know? So with that thought pattern, I was like, every time the sexual partner and I, like, he would introduce something new, I would be like, I trust you. I know I can just say stop, and I know you'll stop. Yeah. But until then, give it a go.
Sure.
And then if I think, you can't feel my fingers, maybe we should stop. Like, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Except he would notice before me. I would be like, "You're kind of blue now." Oh, okay. No. We should not.
Were you guys playing around with rope?
No. It was suspension from a door, and so it wasn't that bad. I was not blue.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
But like, I didn't recognize the tingling, and because he is very good at what he does.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. He good for him, no good for me. No, good for us.
For both of you.
He is very attentive to body language and just general how your body's supposed to look in which situation. So he would notice before me and stop it so it wouldn't be not pleasant. And
good.
like the trust of that, I would be like, okay, my body is safe with you.
Yeah.
That
because is very important.
Your pleasure also depends on my pleasure and well-being.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, definitely. I trust you to do weird shit to me then. Well, not weird shit, but like, I trust you to do other stuff. Because I know that I'm safe here.
And I just hope it will change in the future in a way of sex ed just being more inclusive and people, because I just wish that, you know, we would have heard about those things more, or they would have been, I don't know, more diversified thing growing up, and not having to I mean, that's also how it is with sex ed, that you also have to learn a lot by yourself, obviously. But
television is helping and not helping. If we're gonna dabble back into
social media,
but if we're going back to the whole 50 Shades of Grey, that's a way of showing how it can be horribly wrong.
Yes.
And then there are shows like the one I mentioned way back, the one called Bonding, which is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Which is about a dominatrix and her friend.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, you should. It's really good. Either way, it's really educating. Okay. And it's doing it in a very subtle way, so you don't think it introduces all the kinks and fetishes.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it does well, not all of them. It's not
18.
18. There is 18 fetishes that must be categorized into but like there's
stuff. Where's that show? Like, where can you watch it?
Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But there's
so you can Netflix and chill while you Netflix and chill.
Oh yes, I mean. Yes. I'm not learning from the show right now, but I am learning. I'm confused.
Wow.
No, but like that's a show where I think they do it in a really educating way of showing that this can also, you can also stumble upon this, but they normalize it in a way so you're not like shocked that this guy likes to jerk off to a penguin costume.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
There are more.
This is his thing.
There are more shows and things coming up that are more inclusive and showing more of other things than heteronormativity, but still it's like, but that's also the thing now when I watch old movies, I'm just like I'm really over this.
I saw a film from like the 2000s and I was like, what are you doing? It feels so recent, and you're like, gee, like what?
But even then I'm even sometimes more disappointed with like movies that have been published like this year or like last year.
That they're still being...
And that they're still like this, and I'm like, guys, aren't we...
The men swooping in between the leg, just slapping in, and you're still like... What?
Yeah.
Also, now that I write my thesis about contraception, I'm so obsessed with this topic that I'm like...
Did you ask if she was on... I did not see you put on a condom.
Legit, it's almost never a topic.
No.
In movies.
It's never. I don't think, like, typical rom-com, not even rom-com, they don't have sex there, at least not what you see. Romantic movies and whatnot, when they just assume, or I don't know.
It's just so far off from reality.
And like, it cuts to black with all the important stuff, you know. But again, like, that's not the sexy bit. That's not the fun bit. But it's the work that you need to do. Yeah. Like, it is the, you know, it's brushing your teeth in the morning. It is having a shower. It is talking openly with your partner, you know. Mm-hmm. But it's not cool to put on a TV screen. So they don't. Yeah. Which is unfortunate.
Which is what they don't do
also
in 50 Shades of Black. He's just like, here's my giant room of torture. Yeah. Have fun, girl.
But he
and
also,
she's like,
that's like, I watched that film and I was fucking blown away. Like, the way he just like...
He doesn't introduce
her. He has like
her.
A spanking scene. That's like
now we arrived at the movie.
Play scene, and he's like, I really want to punish you. It's like, first of all, for what? Second of all,
for
why?
Lifting an eyebrow at me.
But it's like, it's bullshit. And it's not the point of like punishment play. But then also, like, he like puts her over a thing and beats the shit out of her. And it's like,
and she's like
what
crying
the
and
hell
being
is
like,
going
stop.
On? Yeah.
And also, to be fair, like, even if I dipped my toe in this specific kink, and I'd be like, this is fun. If I walked into that fucking room, I'd be like, oh, well, this is a lot to take in. Well, what is that thing? What does that... Like, she has not done anything, and she just walks in and go like, oh, that's a funny cross, please tie me up. It's like, no.
I like that. Yeah. I think that's cool.
That she's that cool with it, just walking in. Yeah. You just know she's been reading up on it.
It's nothing that I find more like boring than people being shocked about things. I'm like, get the fuck over it. Like, you're an adult.
The initial shock of that room, you can be like, oh, this is not what I expected. I expected a PlayStation.
This must have cost a lot.
I think it just doesn't fit.
I know what a harness costs, and this.
Yeah, Jesus. You got a lot of rope.
Yeah, exactly.
It just doesn't really fit to her outfit. The overall movie role.
Exactly. That's what I'm like.
Yeah, for sure.
She is supposed to be shocked, and she's not. And I'm shocked that she's not shocked.
Talking like this, and
What does that have to do with anything?
No, because she's always like, I'm like, girl, why are you so overwhelmed with life all the time?
Yeah.
She has bangs. No. That's rude.
Okay, but
I'm sorry, you're gonna bangs.
But I mean, we can learn from this movie as well. Like, we can see what not to do, right?
Okay. So to wrap it up, what can we learn from the movie?
Actually, yes.
Look at that. We've just gotten really
broke.
I mean, so like, what they're going into is like a kind of, 24/7 subdom thing. Perfectly fine. A lot of people do it and people really enjoy it. And I think what we can learn from this is like, fucking don't. Don't write a contract. That's not how consent works. Don't approach it like this. Like, it's horrible.
But they're not even doing it full time. Like, no, they're doing it full time, well. But without doing it full time.
Yeah.
Well, that's also like, SD can be like, it's not necessarily sexual. Like, it doesn't have to be a sexual act. It can be...
I think it doesn't even have to be in person.
No. Jesus Christ. No. But that's... I mentioned that...
No, I'm still thinking about 50 Shades of Grey. I'm like, there's nothing cohesive about anything they do. But that's fine.
I mentioned that, like, the caretaking side of like, dominance, for example. Like, if you have, like, a rule, for example, in your relationship that, like... your sub needs to drink water every day, which is a bit of a fucking meme, or like sleep, or like eat healthy, or like just take care of themselves, and then they break that. That is part of the subdom dynamic, because setting rules are much more. That's like power in its purest essence, right? And that's not sexual, but it's a power dynamic and power play, and breaking those rules can be intentional, to play with that more, or it can be a fuck up, which is fine. But then you have like an established rule book for like, well, you broke the rules, so now you are gonna write a letter about the mistakes you made. You're gonna you're gonna do better in the future, or like, if you're into impact play, if that's a negotiation that you have, like, well, now I'm gonna spank you because that's the rules that we set up. So it is not all sexual.
No.
But it is an identity.
Yeah.
And it is kind of a two-part identity. You have to be in it together.
I love that. This is honestly the perfect ending.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In it together. Bye. No.
Like, I want to frame this and
have it above your bed.
This has been a lot of fun.
It has.
I'm super happy to talk about kink. I think it's really fun.
Thanks for being here.
Very much. Thank you for being here. Yeah. I feel like we could be talking for several more hours, but for everyone out there, sorry, we will not.
Well, this has been a bit of a longer episode, but very valuable and very, very important to talk to each other.
Yeah, I think so.
To include, different voices and different experiences.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because we can all learn from each other and broaden our personal horizon.
Oh yes, that was beautiful. That's what you should have on.
I was writing this in a motivational letter once.
Oh, beautiful.
It
is very motivational.
I think I'm speaking for all of us when I say thank you for listening in. Remember to subscribe and like everything we do, because we like it when you like it. See what I did there? And thank you, Albin, for joining.
Thank you for having me. Super happy.
And bye.
Until the next time.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.